In this video, we will talk about creating a schedule for your standardized test prep. I'm Kat Severson, the inventor of the Severson method, a scientifically proven way to learn anything fast. Let's talk about creating a schedule for your SAT or your ACT. I know that a lot of you guys are posting on Reddit or the SAT or the ACT thread or the college admissions thread, the places where I hang out the most, is you're wondering how do other people create a study schedule. And you usually want to know how other people study, and especially those who achieve really high scores. And it doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to give you an idea. If I were to study for the SAT right now, how would I create a study schedule? And my perspective comes from my current self, my current perspective, and I have a schedule, which is a content schedule for this YouTube channel. I think about the videos I'm going to create, I'm thinking about the publishing schedule, I'm thinking about how much time of my life this channel is going to require. So I have my most important tasks, MITs, I have a list of them, and I know how much time it's going to take me per week. So I'm going to walk you through my content calendar, super personal, I know, and then you will see how the same exact kind of methodology will translate into a study calendar. All right, so many of you don't realize that, but it takes me 10 hours per week to maintain this channel. And let me just show you where these hours go. So I need 10 hours, and I know 2 hours will go to posting, hashtagging, and replying to comments, so all of this. And then I'm going to need 1 hour on Thursday and then 1 hour on Saturday. The reason my favorite channel will take me so much time is because we have posting days. We have Thursdays and Saturdays. These are the days when we post. And I also need to spend time editing, and I need to spend time creating new material for you, creating new content. So these are the things I know I must do for my channel, and if I chose to be on YouTube and to distribute my message via YouTube, this is what I'm committing to, 10 hours, okay? So when I take out just like a paper calendar, I'm going to include those commitments in pencil. Notice that there isn't any specific time this is assigned to. This just says edit, 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 because I edit about 6 days a week, and I usually do it in the evening from 9 to 10. And then we try to post in the middle of the day on Thursday, and we try to post kind of in the middle of the day on Saturday. I usually do it right after my last client on Saturday leaves, and then I post the video. So that takes time, and I already know that takes time, so I write it in my paper calendar so that I let myself know that these are my non-negotiables to do. When we get closer to the week, every Sunday, I look at my Google Calendar, and in my Google Calendar, I then plug these activities in more specifically. And I'm a very predictable person, so I can predict when I'm going to be able to write, to edit, to create content, and then when I'm going to be able to post. So all of these times are predictable for me when I try to work with it at 2-week chunks. So as soon as I made a list of everything I need to do, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to plug it into the calendar. These are kind of like appointments with myself. It's called Katya plus YouTube write, or Katya plus YouTube edit, Katya plus YouTube post. So these are my little subtasks, and this is how I make my schedule work. Of course, there could be adjustments and I can move it, but this is how I know these are the things I need to do. And for the next 2 weeks, when the 2 weeks run out, I go through the list of my activities. If I feel like I'm going to be doing the exact same thing, then I'm just going to plug these same activities, different times. Let's say During the spring break, most of my clients, I have them in the afternoon. During school, I actually have a lot of clients after 4. Sometimes I have 4 to 6, and I have 6 to 8, and then sometimes I even have 8 to 10. So 9 p.m. editing is not an option. Therefore, I would move my editing to an earlier time. So just something to keep in mind, because this is very movable. Well, Katya, thank you for telling us how you prepare for this YouTube channel and how much time you spend on it. But what does your content calendar have to do with our study schedule? Well, I like to think of them kind of in parallel, because the way your study schedule works is it's just a bunch of non-negotiable actions that you agree to do, and you agree to do them ahead of time. So I think that you should start preparing for your standardized test, if you're shooting for a high score, at least 3 months before the test date. So if you're taking this guy, May 4th, then in order to get a good score, it would be a really good idea to start preparing as early as February 4th or before that. For example, if you're working on your reading diet, then you can start preparing years and years in advance, but at the minimum, start to prepare 3 months in advance. You're going to need 3 full-time practice tests. So every month, you're going to take a full-timed practice test. In parentheses, it says 4-hour thing. When you're planning your prep on the bigger picture, you know that you have to take 3 practice tests. I'm not talking about the initial baseline test that doesn't even count. So every month, and in the last month, you're going to take 2 practice tests. So you want to look at your calendar and see, usually you're going to want to do those practice tests when you either have a break from school or when you have a weekend, right? On the weekend, it's much easier to find 4 consecutive hours when you're not exhausted. So let's say there will be a Saturday when there's no bar mitzvah or any sports events that you need to attend. That Saturday will be dedicated to the test, and then you will spend another hour or 2 analyzing all the errors that you made. So altogether, it's not a 4-hour thing, it's more like a 6-hour thing. But you can break it up. You could take half a section on one day, half a section on the other, but this is just something for you to keep in mind. And 3 months in advance, you should get very serious with your study schedule, at least 6 hours per week. You can do more, but don't do less. Don't think that, oh, if I just work for 20 hours one week, then I don't have to work on my SAT for another 2 weeks. Don't do this. 6 hours every week is very manageable, very doable if you are strict with your schedule and your calendar. So what are those 6 hours? How are you going to allocate those? Those are just my suggestions, and I'm going to be using the tools that I love the most. So if you don't like my suggestions, and for example, you don't have the books or you don't have UWorld, just plug your own materials in. But I just love to give very specific examples because I think that you will benefit from those the best. So 6 hours. The first hour we're going to spend on UWorld, 10 minutes of UWorld every day. 10 minutes of UWorld, not every day, 6 days a week, will give you an hour. So if you do anytime you're standing in line and you're waiting for something, you have a study hall, or you're just not, you're on the bus, you're in the car, not driving, but in a passenger seat, just log into UWorld. Do 10 minutes of UWorld every single day. What's really great about that is you can be taking screenshots, and those screenshots then become flashcards for you. I know UWorld doesn't really love the fact that we're taking screenshots, but as long as you're not trying to sell this and try to recreate the questionnaires, because those are kind of proprietary to UWorld, they really don't care. No one's going to sue you, trust me, if you're just using it for your own purposes, so you're okay. Now, that's the first hour. Let's look at the other 5 hours. How are you going to spend those? Well, it really depends on where you're weak at, but keep in mind that math is 50% of your score on the SAT. If you're taking the ACT, you're going to adjust that because there, math is only 25% of your score. If you're taking the SAT, the huge chunk of your time should go towards math unless you are already a math genius. If grammar and reading and the essay, if those are the components that are dragging your score down, then definitely focus on those. But I'm just going to talk about like an average person who doesn't have splendid abilities in any area, who is just, maybe scoring 1400 right now and wants to get to 1550, or maybe you're scoring 1100 and you want to get to 1350 or 1400, stuff like that. So you want to divide that time, and I suggest you spend more time doing math. So 3 hours for math and 2 hours for verbal. Math is going to look like this. If I'm using this book in the table of contents, we have 29 chapters. Actually, no, 28. The way Nelson Fu broke it up is different from the way it's broken up in UWorld. As we have already discussed in the UWorld video, which I will link up there, they organize their material very specific in accordance with the SAT book. So their layout is exactly the same as the College Board's layout. Nelson Fu is taking a little bit of liberty here, and he divided up the topics into 28 different parts. So the last one's volume, and he begins with exponents. So I suggest that you go through a chapter each week. Actually, because you only have 3 months, let's do 3 chapters a week. So in week 1, you're going to do this. In week 2, you're going to do this, 4, 5, 6. In week 3, 7, 8, 9. In week 4, 10, 11, 12. You get the picture. 3 chapters each week. So in order for you to read the chapters and then do the exercises, and then read another chapter and then do the follow-up exercises, and then add some UWorld targeted practice. So let's say on week 1, you guys are doing exponents, percent, and you're also doing exponential functions. So let's say we're going to go and create a targeted test. You're going to click on tutor. You're going to click all, and then you're going to choose percents. First we need to click this one and then unclick all the other guys. And then you're going to be doing exponential functions again. You're just doing these. See how he took a problem solving and data analysis subtopic and then a passport to advanced math subtopic, and he put it in in the front of his book. And then you're going to decide, maybe you're going to do like 10 problems, and then you're going to generate a test for you, and then you're going to solve that test. So all of that should take you 2 hours. 3 chapters, exercises after chapters. Maybe you want to create flashcards. Maybe you want to look for similar questions in the actual SAT tests, and then you want to do some UWorld. That should take you 2 hours. In the first week, really there's nothing for you to review yet, but on week 2, as you're going through chapter 4, 5, and 6, you are beginning to forget chapter 1, 2, and 3. Therefore, you have this extra hour built in your schedule where you can review the previous material and also continue mastering the material you already know. So you're going to go to UWorld and you're going to create a test with 6 topics in it. And you're just going to go through them and review the material, go back to your error logs, you review your flashcards. For that, you have that extra hour built in. So 2 hours for new information, 1 hour for review. You're not going to have anything to review first week, so you're just going to use that time for extra verbal practice. Now, as for verbal, you have reading and you have grammar. You're going to need to work on both. And since reading requires you to get really deep and understand the test really well, it needs you to solve passages and then analyze the types of questions, why some answer choices are correct and why some answer choices are incorrect. And it is not enough to just read the explanations that are provided in the book. In fact, some of the explanations are just laughable because they explain that the reason answer B is correct is because answer A is incorrect and the answer C is incorrect because answer B is correct. They're just not making sense. Well, it's understandable because if the SAT was very straightforward and they were just telling you, well, there's no evidence in the text. It's neither a restatement or a demonstration, and this is just a trappy answer choice that uses words from around the quote, but actually doesn't answer the question. Like if they were to describe the traps to you, then everyone would be scoring 1600, and they need to stay at, they need to keep their reputation as a very reliable source for identifying some bright kids. So they need to keep their secrets. So if you are, guys, attracted to the answer choices, and I was very surprised initially, why wouldn't they give us just like a regular grid where like 1A, 2B, 3D, 4A, you know, like a regular answer grid. Instead, they're giving us this library, question 3, and then an answer, question 4, and then an answer, question 5, and then an answer. And they're actually doing this on purpose. So don't read this. This is not helpful for the most part. So try to avoid going by the explanations. So in order for you to master reading, I suggest that you do just reading 1 week. So the other 2 hours, just reading. And a good way to do it would be to just take one type of passages, let's say prose fiction, and learn everything there is about prose fiction passages, how to approach them, what types of questions to expect, and master and drill fiction passages over and over again. Personally, I am a writer. I like to draw, and I call it murder my passages. So if you guys have watched the UWorld video, then you probably know that I don't use UWorld for reading, but I have seen their passages and their questions that are pretty good. I think that they are consistent with the logic, and they do a good job at creating wrong answer choices and right answer choices. But I like to work on the real reading passages. So if I were to, for the first week, just work on the prose fiction, then I would just take all the first texts from the first 8 tests that are provided by the College Board. And you know, you have a couple of extra tests on the Reddit for you to actually use as practices. So I would just do all passages that are prose fiction, and that would be week 1. On the second week, I wouldn't be doing reading. I would be doing 2 hours of grammar and essay work. If you are required to take the essay, I suggest you start working on the essay early. And I have a great video on how to write an essay. It gives you the template. It will pretty much guarantee a high score. You're not going to score low if you memorize the template well. So start working on that, and also just work for 2 hours next week just on reading, just on grammar. So, I mean, obviously you can break it up if you like, but I suggest that you do targeted study and targeted training. Now, how does this get into your calendar? Now that you know that for the next 2 weeks you're going to have to spend 12 hours, well, 1 hour on UWorld, you don't have to schedule this because it's just 10 minutes a day. Just keep it in mind that I have to be doing UWorld for 10 minutes, but then the 5 hours each week that are very specific. I'm doing chapter 1 to 3, and then I'm doing practice exercises, and then I'm going to be doing more UWorld. Next week I'm doing chapter 4, 5, 6, and then I'm doing practice exercises, and I'm doing more UWorld. And that is the actual assignment that you're going to do. So what you're doing now is you're looking at your calendar, and please, please, please buy yourself a paper calendar. So let's just turn to April. And I want you to look at 2 weeks at a time, because a whole month is kind of harder to work with. But if you guys have a really good hang of your calendar, absolutely do that. So I would just choose days when I know that my evening is not occupied, or maybe I have a free weekend. Then I'm going to schedule those training sessions, and I'm also going to schedule my full practice tests. At the beginning I told you that you need to take 3 practice tests. You need to, and it's not counting the first baseline test that you took. So after each month, and as we're getting closer to the test, you want to take one full length test one more time and analyze your errors. So I hope this helps you guys. I know I didn't touch upon the ACT. I just don't want this video to get overly long, but this is the premise of it. You want to first identify what is it that you're going to do, and I think I went overly detailed. What is it that I suggest that you do? Then you plug these into the days, and then once it gets closer to the day, I don't know how much you guys use the Google Calendar, but I use it a lot. You can actually decide from what time to what time you're going to be doing your work. So let's say it's Thursday and you know that you don't have a lot of homework for Friday, or like Friday is a day off, some holiday, then on Thursday from 4 to 6 you can actually study 4, 5, 6, chapter 4, 5, 6 in your math book. You can study the content and you can do the exercises. And then you also know that on Saturday you will have 2 hours and you're just going to do reading, and you're just going to do a particular type of passage, just going to do the fiction passages. And 2 weeks from now I'm going to do just the social science passages, and then 2 weeks from now I'm going to do just the history passages, or the paired passages, or the natural science passages. So you can come up with your own system, but having a set of activities in mind, and then deciding which days you're going to plug those into. Super helpful. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you need me to write a set of tasks for the ACT, please let me know in the comments below. And guys, I encourage you to comment on this video, because every time you leave a comment or you like the video, we actually choose someone every month. We choose one lucky person and we get on a free session together. I don't care if you're preparing for SAT, ACT, GMAT, MCAT, LSAT, or you're just learning and studying from MOOCs or online courses. There's probably something that you want to ask me, or there's something that we can study together. So leave a comment, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.